I'm Damian Barrett and welcome to the 2018 wash-up for the Sydney Swans, brought to you by Karcher, Callum Twomey, Matthew Lloyd are here. Lloydie, round 19, after the Swans fell out of the top 8, there were end-of-an-era calls. Were those calls premature, or is it actually heading that way?
Those calls were spot on at the time. You look at the sides like Melbourne, Richmond, Collingwood, who are flying. They keep the ball in the front end. Sydney don't do that. I think McVeigh and Grundy even signing on was a little bit surprising. I think they need to freshen this list up dramatically.
Yeah, they're the closest thing to a one-man team this year in the competition, weren't they? Because Buddy just dragged them across the line so many times.
Yeah, I think their midfield is lacking a lot of depth, and obviously it's all about Franklin, the forward half, and their back line is slightly ageing with McVeigh, Rampy and also Heath Grundy.
Yeah. We'll delve through aspects of what you've just both touched on there. Cal, we start with the highlights, though, in these wash-ups, and what did you find here for the Swans?
Yeah, I love this game. Ben Ronk in round 7. He was unbelievable, really. 20-year-old rookie, kicked 7 goals in just his third AFL game. The Swans saw his pace and energy at a draft level and loved it. Ignored the doubts on his kicking, and he's proved them right this year. He's been outstanding. 18 games for 24 goals. Included 5 goals against North later in the year as well. So he's no flash in the pan. I just love his energy and excitement down there. He teams up really well with Will Hayward and Tom Papley. So there's a bright future there for the Swans. It's just coming through.
We could have used Buddy Franklin in the highlights here, because we always do. So I've gone a little bit different, a bit like yourself, Cal. Oliver Florent back in round 4 against the Bulldogs. I love this moment, and you can see the score, you can see the time, and I get it, Lloydie and Cal, that the team thing there to do, the John Longmire edict there would have been to hold that ball and soak the time up, as opposed to doing what he did and kicking that goal. But I reckon the attitude he has taken in that passage of play actually is the type of attitude they now need to inject into that footy club, and not be the dour, hard-working midfield they've been for so long, because I think they need some spark, and he gave it to them, and I think the attitude that he showed in that moment is something that should actually happen a bit more of.
I'd agree with that, Damo. Spot on. My low light for the year is you need luck and you need good managing. You look how well Richmond have managed their list, and for Callum Mills to go down the way he did at round 9, he's a great player, Mills, and to injure himself was falling over a chain.
Yeah, throwing the gridiron ball outside the SCG.
Yeah, that just kills you, and it's really hurt them this year.
Rising star, they really missed him in defence, and he looks like being a long-term player, a long-time star for them, but he was really costly in his absence, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and there's another moment of trauma too, wasn't there, for a man who suffered a lot of it, Alex Johnson. This was just his second game back. It was actually in the first quarter of his second game back. He'd returned the previous week in round 20 against Collingwood to much fanfare, and they got over the line against the Pies that night, but that 1 quarter later, his career is now effectively done. It'll be requiring now a 6th knee reconstruction, and I just cannot see how he stays on that club's list. They'll give him all the support that they've already given him, and will continue to do so. But as a Swans listed player, I don't see it happening. And the emotions were just so vivid, weren't they? Nick Newman there, clearly a very close friend and someone who's lived that trauma with Alex Johnson.
So quickly went from the feel-good story there to the horror story of the year, wasn't it? It was a real shame for him, and he looked like a really good player, didn't he?
Yeah.
2012 grand final is one of their best on ground. So such a horror story.
Played 45 games of basically 45 of that moment of his career. Hard to mark them a little bit on the back of what they did in the finals. Lloyd, you go first.
Lost 6 of their last 10, including to the Gold Coast Suns. So just a 5 for me.
Yeah, I'm giving him a 6. I thought they were never really in the flag race.
Yeah, I'm giving him a 6 too. They made it. They stood up when the season looked like it was on the line, but fell well short ultimately. Who cleaned up in 2018?
Yeah, Jake Lloyd is one for me, who I think's been a real success story for the Swans. Came off the rookie list, averaged 28 touches this year, career high. A huge game in round 9 against Freo when he had 41 touches and kicked a goal. Can just be trusted with the footy and finds it so much. They give it to him because he knows what to do with it. It's been a really good story for them. So I like what he's doing. He's out of contract, so still weighing up what he does going forward, but has been a really consistent player for the Swans.
Bit of interest in him, isn't there, from Gold Coast?
There is, and you can see why. They'd be throwing a bit of money at him.
Yeah. I love the season of George Hewitt. I think that Luke Parker and Josh Kennedy, just so much is asked of them. Kieran Jack coming to the end. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Jack. Does he play on next year? But just love the scalps he takes. You know, you look at Harms at Melbourne. Well, Hewitt was like that with the Sydney Swans. You just knew what you got every single week. He'd take down the best players. Just tackles like that. You know, he's even got a bit of flair in his game as well. So he was sort of one of the rare highlights. You know, I think Hewitt and these guys Hayward drifts in and out of the game. I thought Hewitt was consistent right throughout.
When you have 2 goals to your name in a elimination final only at 3/4 time, there's a lot of people under pressure, and look, we could start anywhere. I want to go with Sam Reid though. I mean, does anyone even know if he's still in the country? We just don't see him, do we? And I don't mean to make light of what's been an injury-battled career for him, but he just doesn't play, and they need him to. He's on good money.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because as we were talking about earlier, I mean, they're looking for Darcy Moore. He's another player who's played so few footy with injuries. So do they go and get him and team those two up? Hopefully for them, Sam Reid can come good next year. Dan Hanbury, will he be at the Swans next year? You'd have to have some doubts on that, wouldn't you? Because he's contracted for a couple more years until the end of 2021, but the Saints are coming for him. For me, it's an interesting call for the Saints, but that's another topic aside. But he's not shown anything near his best footy in the last couple of seasons. He looks banged up.
He does. Lloydie, you like to scour the video packages of a club season to try and get a laugh, even for the clubs that lose the elimination final?
It wasn't easy, this one, Damo, so it was more unique. This was Dane Rampy. We had all the talk, obviously, with the Clarko had met with Gillum McLaughlin. So let's take a look at some of the vision of Dane Rampy against the Hawks a week later.
Arms around back here. You've got your arms around him and you're preventing him from leading.
Be happy with that. Well done. Do you have a copy with him too?
Thanks, Dave. Back here.
Yeah, well, that made huge talking points throughout the week, and I liked that from Rampy, and the umpire handled it well as well.
I did too.
Yeah,
I like
very
it.
good.
Hey, lots of areas in which to improve. A starting point for me is just getting the SCG back to the fortress that it once was. 12 matches they played there this year. That's inclusive of the elimination final against GWS. Won only the 5. You wouldn't have thought that was going to be the situation at the start of the year.
No, absolutely not. One of their worst years there in a long time. Speaking of this SCG, they need to be a little less clumsy outside of it, because obviously Cal Mills broke his foot playing gridiron outside the ground, and this comes on the back of last year where Dane Rampy, their best defender, broke his arm tripping over a fence. So, geez, just slow down outside the SCG and give John Longmire a spell, please.
Yeah, and mine's the forward line. We touched on Franklin. Yeah, some people want to say, is Franklin been a good investment for them? Of course he has been, but it's everyone around him. You touched on Sam Reid. McCartan had a good solid year for someone as young as he was. But is it Darcy Moore, another injury-prone player? But they've got to get that forward half right. So it's not all about Lance Franklin.
I reckon they might be still trying to get Stephen May too, just as we go into that trade period. I don't know how on the hook they use it. Collingwood, should he choose to leave the Gold Coast Suns, but I think they'll be looking at players like him and around him if they can squeeze him in. Okay, into 2019, where do we see them finishing?
I'd like Geelong, 5 to 8 for mine.
I think they're outside the 8 next year, 9 to 11.
I've got them back where they were this year, but only just 5 to 8. Lloydie, Cal, thank you. And that's the wash-up for the Sydney Swans in 2018.